And that was a really cool piece there on Wagner Custom Skis, which is located right up here in Mountain Village. Also located right up here in Mountain Village is Mr. Noah Sheedy, the director of the ski and the snowboard school here at Telski. Thanks a lot for being here, Noah.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
So on these, what we like to do on these little interviews here, we want to know, how did you get to Telluride? Because you came by way of Europe and everything like that, too.
Sure, yeah. So, by trade, kind of, a high school job of mine was being a ski instructor on the weekends. Which it was a lot of fun. It connected me to a sport that I loved in a different way, and kind of being able to learn how to teach. That segued into going to college and becoming a school teacher for several years. All the while, I was very involved in the ski club at the school and taking kids up. After school, we had night skiing in New York. That was a big thing. So.
Is this New York City or New York State? Or?
No, Western New York.
Okay.
Western New York. So
I'm from upstate New York. Actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Rochester, kind of south of Rochester.
Oh, great.
For me.
I'm from up in the Adirondacks.
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of an area, but
yeah. So.
But you were taking kids on the little hills in New York.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, I realized relatively quickly that being a school teacher was not my passion. I loved the teaching side of it, but yes, that is God bless everyone that are teachers out there and make it a lifelong career.
Mm-hmm.
Not for me, but still loved teaching. So, by chance had an opportunity to move to Europe after I left teaching and was a ski instructor over there for several years. Mm-hmm. And, as kind of Telluride stories go, while I was skiing in Europe, I met someone who, when I was ready to move back to the States, he was down here actually as the assistant ski school director at the time, and so invited me down. I came to Telluride sight unseen, but
you had never seen Telluride.
I had never been here, but
did
knew
you hear
about
the legends?
It. Oh yeah. Knew obviously reading ski magazines as a kid, and you just right? And so when this opportunity came up, I jumped on it.
Yeah.
Honestly, did not know necessarily how great of a town, how much I'd have that connection.
Don't tell anybody. We don't like to tell people on this show.
The secret's out.
Yeah.
So came here sight unseen in 2007, and certainly never looked back on the personal side. Met my wife here. We've got a family now, but honestly, beyond the community that is so fantastic here, the other thing that connected me from an industry perspective is Telluride's known, and I think all the locals out there know, how great the skiing up high is, and the kind of terrain that challenges us, which is just fantastic here. On the other side of the spectrum, as a teacher, and kind of introducing people to the sport of skiing and snowboarding, man, the teaching terrain that we have access to, and the facilities that our guests who are fortunate enough to learn how to ski or snowboard in Telluride have is just phenomenal here. I have never seen a better setup of terrain progression for folks that are getting into the sport. The combination of obviously low angle, wide slopes, perfect groomers, not a ton of congestion out there. And then you combine that, if you think about riding up Chair 10, hanging out in Ute Park, you're at 11,000 feet. The views are phenomenal. For a beginner skier or snowboarder, they feel like they are on top of the world while being kind of enveloped in this magical forest that is, pretty unassuming and welcoming and not overly intimidating. Yeah, it's just phenomenal. So
yeah, and we don't have the other thing too that's really great is for those of you who don't know about Telluride out there, it's not particularly crowded most of the year. I wouldn't say in terms of other ski areas. So if you're learning, there's a lot of openness to it.
Yes. Yeah, and for experienced skiers, it's us managing a few folks on the slope, no big deal. For a beginner, it is there is so much going on that having a slope virtually to themselves is, it makes this experience that is unforgettable, and it truly hooks people in.
So tell me, what's in your estimation, after having all these years in this, what's the toughest thing to teach, or toughest age to teach, or whatever? Where is it that you always get stuck?
No, all of our beginner guests are perfect. They are just
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
dream
yeah.
to work with. We love them. Yeah, tough call. Right?
Well, adults. I'm going to start with adults because adults are going to be harder, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, if I had my druthers, teaching, a 7-year-old to ski versus teaching a 45-year-old to ski, I'd take that 7-year-old in a heartbeat, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have the kind of innate fear and experience of, oh, this is kind of scary. This is new. I should be fearful of this, and I should kind of push back. They are just, the kids just jump right in. Now, the flip side of that certainly is we do, every once in a while, we start offering lessons at 2.5 years old. And you having a 2.5-year-old yourself.
He's going. He's talking about skiing.
Yes.
A lot.
For us, when we live here, it's the energy that gets created is fantastic. Now, you kind of flip that to someone who's the family's not from a mountain environment, maybe in a warmer climate, hasn't seen a lot of snow. So many new variables for those young kids that are, can be tough to manage, certainly. So creating that environment where it's really, we introduce baby steps, right? We put the equipment on inside. We have them walk around inside. We try to manage that.
Is it tough? Is it tough to to teach somebody some of the more advanced terrain? Sort of like, I know that, like, for instance, over on 6, there's that really nice wide field of kind of moderate bumps, but you don't get that in a lot of places in the West. Those kind of bumps, so.
No, and we're known for bumps, right? And
Yeah,
so we offer mogul camps. We do a lot of work with kind of our upper intermediate groups on how to ski moguls. What's the tactics? What are the skills you need to really develop? And I think that's one of the things that, again, kind of speaking to Telluride is such a great teaching mountain from those never evers through beginners, intermediates. You think about that chair 5 pod and all those beautiful short pitches of, relatively moderate bumps. Great place to kind of hone those skills before you take the plunge, literally on chair 9, right? Or figuratively all over the mountain, on some steeper bumps. So, yeah, I mean, top to bottom, Telluride just is phenomenal in so many ways.
So I have a final question for you,
Sure.
which is you are now a dad, a relatively new dad. You have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Correct, yep.
So they are now learning to ski. The
They
4-year-old's probably been there for a couple of years. How has that changed how you think about teaching?
It's funny. So just last year we invested in, we created kind of we built a new 320-foot covered magic carpet over on the North Meadow zone, which historically that's been a zone, although prime teaching terrain, not necessarily that engaging for our guest. Now we make a lot of snow over there. We've got that lift to capture folks. And I'll be honest that there was some selfishness in me pushing for that. Thinking about my son Beckett at 2 at the time, moving on to 3, and like, man, this would be such a great teaching zone for him. So, it's really shifted my focus to, how do we introduce this sport to folks as smoothly as we can to create these just phenomenal experiences. And I think we're there, especially with this new investment in our beginner teaching terrain.
Cool.
Yeah.
Noah, thanks a lot for being here.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having
you guys, me. Noah Sheedy, if you see him out on the slopes and he's teaching, don't bother him. But catch him in between, maybe catch a hot chocolate with him. Sign up for some lessons.
Yeah.
It's the best terrain in the West.
Yeah.
Speaking of terrain and community and all that, Telluride TV is a public access channel that depends on public support, and we want to give a shout out to a few of our most generous supporters, the towns of Telluride and Mountain Village, the Telluride Ski and Golf Company, and Case. And now, let's head over for another segment of Thank Ghost It's Monday.